If you had to take a guess, a stab in the dark at how many applicants you get in a year, how many would you say?
For our associate program for the year, I think we saw 375 applications for our associate program. I would say for stylists, we're seeing like 5 applicants a month. So
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. The associate program is really, it's honestly like I feel horrible having, because we take on 3 a year. You know what I mean?
You would take them all if you could.
Yes.
And you're taking 1%.
And I want to really bad, but I also am trying to believe in the quality over quantity. And even when people ask about expansion again, or like second location or all of that, I'm like, I feel really strong about this space. And so that requires discernment. Like, it's not an option.
As the founder of Tone Salon in Fortville, Indiana, Kimber Chapman transformed her business from a hybrid rental model to a fully employee-based salon and nearly doubled revenue to almost 7 figures in just 2 years. Serving more than 2,000 guests annually with a team of 10 W-2 employees, Tone stands as proof that employee-based salons aren't dead and are instead desirable, thriving, and growing fast. Kimber is getting 15 to 30 applications monthly, proving that not every stylist is looking to rent a chair or a suite. What she did is rare, so I wanted to know, Kimber, how long were you doing hair before you became a salon owner?
I was 6 years into the industry when I went independent, and then 8 years in when I opened up Tone.
Did you ever work as an employee yourself?
I did. From 2013 was my first salon, and then 2018 was when I decided to leave my job.
How did you end up becoming an owner? That piece is always very fascinating. Like, did you approach an existing owner about buying their space? Did somebody come to you? How did that come together?
So I feel like there are people that dream about it and there are people that don't. I was not a person that dreamt about it at all. It would have been fun down the line, but it wasn't in my like realm of possibilities. But early fall of 2020, my best friend who's an esthetician, she was looking at a space and ended up passing on it. She was like, but something cool should go here. And I went to go look at it. I was like halfway through a lease and it was 2020. So I loved it. I contacted my suite landlord and I was like, hey, this opportunity just kind of like fell in my lap. I will pay out my lease, like no big deal, but I feel like this is calling me. And I dreamt this 3-chair rental space and, you know, a micro salon or whatever. I don't like saying micro salon, but I feel like a lot of people call them that. And he was like, no, I want you to go for this. You'd be so great at it. And he did not have to do that at all. And that is when I kind of knew like something is like, is a magnet for me to this and I want to see it through. But it wasn't something that I dreamt of. Like I never dreamt of owning a salon. Sometimes I'm still like, you know what, if it wasn't a dream, why are you doing it? But there's a push and a pull all the time. And the pull keeps me in for sure.
What did your business look like financially as a solo stylist when you decided to step into this 3-chair space? Like, I think that's the scariest thing to overcome so often is, can I pull this off?
1,000,000%. It was 2020. Like, again, I'm looking at this early fall. We were lucky in Indiana that we reopened in the summer. I know a lot of people were out much longer than that, but of course, coming back from that, you're just in a different place, like mentally. But I think I was more in a place of like, why not go for it? Like I made it through that. I'm doing okay. Just go for it. And then the rest happens. I was able to like not have to finance any of the build out or anything. And that made me feel secure. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I felt secure in what I was doing. I am a little penny pincher, so I saw my way through the entire process. Like I made sure to monitor everything. And it wasn't as scary as I thought once I got into it.
You knew that your drive would carry you through. It was like a leap and the net will appear.
And it still does. Mm-hmm. Like everything is based on drive. I'm impulsive in nature. And like, I think it's when I'm telling somebody who's anxious or nervous or scared to get started, I tell them like, I never was. And like, I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. And not that there's not a plan. And I think once things are in motion, I definitely have strategy. But as far as like decision making, I'm like, if it feels good, go for it.
You said that you found the space and you knew that you wanted to open a rental salon. Why rental?
It was where I was at the time too. And I was coaching independent stylists and I was talking to stylists from all over. And I felt when called to Tone that I had a way bigger understanding of like my local area. So the main goal was like helping others. I've always wanted to impact others in that way. And it's one of the core values of Tone Salon to serve others. So I felt called to just focus on people who were in my area and kind of get them to their next level that were local to me, because I know that the best. And rental felt natural because it's what I was doing. I have commission salon trauma, and I think a lot of people do. And I thought nobody's going to want to do that was my main thing. Like, not that I didn't even want to have employees, but I thought nobody wants to be an employee anymore. There are no commission salons in my area. They're not like, those big ones that have been around for 30 years and are doing huge amounts of revenue, but paying stylists nothing. And I never wanted to become that. So I thought rental was like how you don't become that.
Did you have a financial plan going into being a booth rental salon leader? Like, how did you envision the business making money?
So, of course, my thought was you have rental income and then your behind the chair income, and then that's how you get where you're going. And I didn't really have a plan. Like, again, it was more of an impulsive decision. And looking long term, I knew that there was no exit strategy in rental. And my number one is to like serve others and make that impact for others. But if it's not doing anything for me, then it also doesn't work. So I think it took a couple years, and I realized like not only am I not called to rental, but I'm also like it's not working for me, and it has to work for me in order for me to have that drive to want to keep going.
At its best, when Tone was a rental salon, do you have a sense of how much revenue you were running through the business? Your revenue behind the chair plus rental income?
Yeah, we were a little over 200,000, somewhere between 200 and 225,000 for all of 2022. And I would say that was the peak. We decided to expand in that year because the space became available. Our space is a really old building that has a lot of different spaces. So we were in a really small one within the building, and made that decision in 2022 to expand. So looking at where everything was then versus where everything is now, I cannot believe, I'm like, dang, like so much has exploded. And I felt really good about that $220,000 or whatever it was. I felt great about it, and I still do, and I'm proud of myself. But I thought that was as good as it was going to get,
Yeah.
And
a $250,000 is a lot of money. And
it is.
When I talk to salon leaders who have booth rental salons, there's something about that number where you can look East Coast to West Coast. That $250,000 marker it's not to say that you can't go beyond that. I know some booth rental salons that have for sure,
right.
But that is very much the median.
Yeah.
And when it even sways upward, it doesn't go all that much higher on the average. Like, you really did do the damn thing. You did it. When you did the expansion, how many chairs did you pick up?
We went from 3 to 8, and my goal in switching, we were going to be hybrid, was to have 4 employee chairs and then 4 rental chairs. So really I was expanding like Kimber Chapman LLC by, 3 chairs, I guess, and then adding a whole other realm. But yeah, when I look back at that in 2022, the majority of that was my behind the chair income. And so it's a real big eye opener to see now how much I was doing then just to keep it going as it was. And I knew that wasn't going to be possible. So we had to expand, or I had to figure something out, because the small salon thing with me out of it was not going to be, it wouldn't have worked for me.
Is there any scenario where you could have continued to be a booth rental salon leader and stepped out from behind the chair and still financially been okay?
No, not financially, but also that's not how I want to lead either. I want to be in it. My team appreciates that I'm in it with them. So I'm like in the industry, experiencing it with them. And now as I pull back, I have a different perspective. But in expansion, I was like, I don't even want to leave this place. I want to be here all the time. But there would have been no way financially either. Okay,
so tell us the mental crossroads you got to where you were like, you know what? Rental's been amazing. We need to go hybrid.
I saw, again, the industry sort of shifting that way. We started to see more inquiry for specifically our training program, and like having beginning stylists in their career want to have an opportunity to work with us. And I was like, well, there's no way that these people are going to be ready to go right out of the gate. So what is something that I can do to help bridge the gap between school and the future of their career where they are on their own?
When did you hire your first employee and what did that look like?
I hired my first in 2020 as my assistant, and I had 2 assistants between 2020 and 2022 that did not go anywhere. But I hired my stylist, Lauren, at the beginning of 2022, and she was set to graduate school at the end of 2023. So she was employee, but like worked as an associate for most of 2022 and then started taking clients.
Why didn't those first 2 assistants work out?
It was me, which is like a surprising thing probably to hear a lot of people say, but I truly believe that 1,000,000% of issues come back to leadership. And I knew nothing about having someone that believed in what I was also building. I just kind of laid it out there and hoped that they would pick it up. And I think that's the difference also between having stylists who rent from you to people who work for you. Is if they are not truly led, it's never going to work out. So I had to actually lead. And I think in looking back at 2020 to 2023, I was an owner, I was not a leader. And that was the key difference in the transition too.
Now in 2024, Tone did around $500,000 in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
In 2026, you will be a 7-figure salon.
That's so exciting.
What does your team look like today?
We have 8 stylists. 7 of them are full-time. One is part-time. 2 associate stylists who also, like, they're kind of in their, transitional phase. We also have them rotate our support shifts. So we actually right now don't have anyone in operations management. We're hiring. And like just operations in general. We have our associates kind of rotate a lot of those responsibilities. It helps them kind of understand why cross-training is important. But right now, as of today, 8 stylists, 2 associate support staff roles.
Let's talk about that operations manager position. How did you know that you couldn't handle it all? You couldn't just delegate everything to the team?
Yeah. It's
time. We can pay a person, and this is what the role looks like.
Yeah. Nobody wants to. So what I found is like, I have to, right? Like if I definitely don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And it's getting to the point, especially as the team grows, where like they, again, need true leadership, not management. And I think as I step away from managing, which is hard to do because I love to manage, but I don't want to. I want to show up, hear where they're at, help them get to where they're going. I cannot do that if I'm doing inventory. I cannot do that if I'm managing schedules, issues, like all sorts of that stuff. I think it's one of those, if I got scared of any hire, operations was the one. And it just got to, again, I had to be like, you have to do it. And then you've managed to make it work. And as long as you show up and be the leader that you're meant to be, then everything will fall into its place. But
okay, so this is profound because usually when I talk to owners, they'll say, I'm going to bring on a manager. And I say, amazing. What is that person going to do? And it's a lot of like, work the front desk, answer the phones, check on the schedule. And I said, totally. And then payroll and inventory and ordering. And they're like, well, no, I'm going to hold on to those pieces.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of understanding that when you hold on to all of those operational pieces, you can't truly lead.
Right.
Can you explain to us, you've mentioned it several times now, what is the difference between managing and leading in your eyes?
Managing is not that leadership's not at all data-based, but managing is very data-based. You take the data, you make decisions based on the data, and there's almost no feeling to me involved with it. There's no emotion or like interaction. It's literally just, it's very factual. It's either working or it's not. It's either counted or it's not. It's either scheduled or it's not. And leadership is seeing where someone is at and helping them do their best versus trying to say, well, this is how the salon's going to do its best. Why are you not meeting the middle? And I think that's a big perspective shift that I've gone through. And like, I am a numbers-based person. I love data. I'd be very good at managing. But I just know that that's not what my team needs. And it like makes me slightly emotional to think about who was talking to this group of people at the beginning of 2023, and also people pleasing. Like I feel like I was not leading because I thought leading was people pleasing. I was only managing. So then when the people pleasing didn't work, I had to manage. And then what I found was If you take away the people pleasing, and of course, like, your people are your people, you have to treat them well. But it's like when you're going through the Starbucks drive-thru, your kid asks for a cake pop and you just get it because you don't even know why. And that's what I felt like I was doing. I was giving them things, giving them cake pops, and like not even understanding what was happening beyond the scenes. And I had to stop doing that and be like, okay, guys, I'm going to hold you accountable. There was a team survey that I sent out where I asked how they like to be communicated with, and all of them said accountability, no sugarcoating. It was like one of the choices. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, I don't have to give you everything you want because I'm afraid you're going to leave. Because that's ultimately what it boiled down to, is like a abandonment fear. And like, I had to just be like, no, this is how we get to where we need to go. But how do I help you get to your best? Because I know if you are doing your best, we will ultimately do our best.
And ironically, I would imagine that when you were a people-pleasing manager, which I have been that person too, you actually lose good people playing that role, and you think that you're being a better leader. You're like, well, nobody has anything to complain about. This should be perfect. Everybody should stay forever. And that's actually a way more vulnerable business model.
Yeah.
Versus when you show up and you lead and you hold people accountable. Like, even as adults, we like to be guided and shown the way. What does a day look like for you when you are in the salon being a leader? Like, what are some of those responsibilities?
Hopefully there's no fires happening on a fire-free day, because again, that's where management comes in. If there's a fire, to me, the manager's putting it out. A leader's on the floor. We like have a signature methodology, right? And one of the biggest ways that shows up is in our like signature blowout. So coming out, seeing someone like really struggle with like a round brush, and like I'm just watching them destroy their shoulder over time slowly, and coming out and just being like, hey, can I show you something that's really cool? Or when we're sitting in on a one-on-one and they're like, I'm telling them what they need to do to be done with Saturdays. They're like, I want to be done with Saturdays. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's your number that you need to be at to be done with Saturdays. And they're like, that seems so far away. Like, how is that possible for me? And I'm like, let's break it down. Like, it's really not as hard as it seems. And I think like helping my team see the middle has been leadership for me.
As you described it, it actually sounds a lot like partnership, which I think is such a beautiful thing. I know that if I was to tell another salon owner, hey, if you see a stylist who's doing blowout in a way that's going to blow their shoulder out in a couple of years, jump in and give them guidance. Some owners would say, my stylist would never go for that. Why do you think that your stylists are open to that kind of feedback?
I had that fear like hard, and I think it held me back a lot in the beginning before we really truly had our own way of doing things and how we set the tone. I had that fear, so I totally empathize with it. But I think communicating, like being open and honest. And I think what I hear a lot of people say is, I'm going to send this person a text, or like, I'm having an issue, I'm going to text them. I'm like, talk to them, like just talk. The more that I talk to my team, the more I understand them and they understand me. I have like I feel like a special type of leadership style. I'm like, I'm going to be hard on you because I know it's going to make you better. And I think accessing that it came from like getting rid of the people pleaser and then being authentic to myself. I think that there was a period of time in this where I was not being authentic and therefore not communicating. And I feel like my number one core value now is for myself is authenticity, and that leads to communication, and that leads to stronger leadership. And I do think it's like a partnership for sure. Yeah.
You told me that you're not a leader who sugarcoats. What do you think the pros and cons of that are?
The pro is my team knows what to expect. I absolutely have to have difficult conversations, and they know that when they're going into it, unless they request beforehand that I take a little more softness to it, they're going to be met with honesty. And there's good honesty, and then there's like unwelcomed honesty sometimes. And I definitely toe the line. And I've struggled with that. I've definitely gotten feedback from my team of like, that didn't need to be said right here, right now. But I think they just know what to expect. And the con is that they know what to expect. So I think sometimes they're afraid of facing certain things that I will definitely expose for them. And that makes them not communicate those things ever, but definitely like get more nervous about communicating openly if they are not used to that style. I tend to teach that a lot in people when they first start with us of like, it is okay to say what's on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard to hurt my feelings, like really, really hard. So just say it. And that way we can just get it out and over with. And I'm not going to ever intentionally try to hurt your feelings. That's another thing that I try. I'm like, I'm never intentionally trying to do that. So just go into every interaction with me knowing that it's for you and not against you, and we'll be golden.
You set the terms ahead of the conversation.
Yes.
How often are you meeting with your team?
Quarterly right now. We were meeting monthly when we first started. The pacing for them, they felt like they didn't have enough time to do the big things that were coming up in those meetings. Now, I am in the salon every day, and so it's not like they don't have access to me. And so scheduled meetings happen quarterly, but I'm checking in almost constantly. We definitely have commitments on a quarterly basis, and those quarterly commitments break down into projects, and I check in with them on their project progress every week.
How many chairs do you have in your salon?
8.
And how many stylists do you have?
8.
Okay.
I just hired 2. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to hit a capacity issue,
Yeah.
which is such a good problem to have. But I talk to salon owners at this crossroads all the time, and they're like, we need to open another location. We need to expand, or what? And they're like, where do I go from here? I don't want to stop hiring.
Yep.
My team is going to change. People are going to go on maternity leave. It's like there's all these logistics to navigate. What is your plan as you come up on capacity? What are you thinking is the solution?
So I still don't believe we are fully there because I have a lot of stylists who have scheduled dreams. And I know that you coach a lot to what people actually prioritize. And I think, of course, it'd be a great world to have all of the money and all of the time and all of the things. But I have people who definitely want a dream schedule, and I can have people come in as I hire to help them get there without having the pressure of meeting certain goals right now. And of course, we have a big end of the year number that the salon has to hit. They don't know how to digest that number, so we break it down on an individual level, quarterly, monthly, all of that. And I say your number and impact actually gets reduced as we get more capacity. So I don't feel like we're there yet. And so people ask me all the time, would you open up a second location? I have worked at 2 salons that have opened multi-location. Neither has gone well. And I believe it's a curse, but there are people out there doing it. And I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but I feel like I would need not even like franchise, but like I have to be able to completely be at one or the other or neither in order for that to be in the future. So I feel like we have a lot of potential before we get there.
I have to echo that same sentiment. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen a salon open a second location or do a major expansion, and it's gone perfectly. It's incredibly challenging. Lightning doesn't strike twice. So you think that you're going to expand the culture or duplicate the culture.
Yep.
Which is incredibly difficult to do. I've had my team right now is like the perfect size. It's like my happiest size. We've been bigger, we've been smaller, and being bigger by no means made things easier. It changed everything. And sometimes you get to a sweet spot and you have to learn how to navigate that sweet spot versus hoping to just double or triple everything over and over and over again. Yeah. Would you have your stylist station share, or do they station share now?
We tried split shifting.
Okay.
That was something that we tried when we first expanded. Mm-hmm. That did not go great. Mm-hmm. And I think it's we'd have to be open, which this is not necessarily a problem, but I feel like we'd have to be open like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
You do.
And that's okay. I want to be able to go to bed at 9. Mm-hmm. And if a fire happens, who's taking care of it between 9 and 10, So we don't do split shifting right now, but we do offer that for like associates coming in. They fill the gaps of the days that stylists aren't there. So like from 4 to 8, if someone isn't there, my associate can start taking clients in that window versus like having 9 to 3 and 3 to 9, or however, you want to break it down. So right now we don't station share or split shift, but we do have no station, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That is a dynamic that I've had to teach my current team, because at the level that we are at, they are in the same station every day. As we grow, that is not going to be possible. And I try to tell them, if we all want to work the days we want to work, this is what has to happen. And it's had bumps, but it's going okay.
I really love the way that you're approaching this position, because you're absolutely right. And sharing stations and not owning a chair, owning a space is actually a way for everybody to win.
Yeah.
So tell me, how many days a week does the average stylist work now?
4 is like our full time.
Yep.
We have some that do work 5, but that's by choice. It's not ever like if I'm working you on a schedule, I'm choosing 4 days. And then if you want to work shorter days, but 5, you can. I have some that work 3 days. I have a couple associates that are doing 1 to 2 days right now. So it's kind of all over the place. I'm like, maybe I'll get a handle on this eventually. But we offer, an 18-hour. So right now we don't have 1 day. I feel like that's, unless you're an associate building, we don't have 1 day, but we offer an 18-hour schedule, which is 1 8-hour day, 1 10-hour day. And then a 3-day schedule, which is 3 8-hour days, a 4-day schedule, which is 3 8-hour days and 1 10-hour day. Mm-hmm. And then the 5 is not something we technically offer, but I let people do. So it's kind of all over the place.
But I feel like that's part of the conversation and the compromise. With the scheduling opportunities you've created, do you feel like that fills the need for stylists to feel like they have freedom?
Yes. And that's a big F word that I feel like gets tossed around in our industry. There's a few F words that get tossed around in our industry, but that's one of them, freedom. And like everybody wants freedom, like who wants to be tied down by anything.
Right.
But what does freedom look like when you're being guided and led towards your next level? If somebody left me to my own devices to get to my goals, I would never get there, ever. And I have to have structure, coaching, leadership in order for me to have what I want. And when I haven't had that, I've made really irrational, impulsive decisions in running the business. Like right now we're only open every other Saturday because I thought in order to have a great team, we're going to close on Saturdays. And so for a while we were closed. And I was like, wow, people are going to love working for me. Still lost people. So I'm like, okay, we'll open every other Saturday. And we're stepping into being open every Saturday again. But you have to convince people who have been working one way to work another, which has been a little bit more difficult. But I need leadership, so I know they need leadership. I'm like, how can we have freedom of whatever you want with also structure?
Totally agreed. And when people say freedom, I think what they're actually trying to say is, I want my personal life to matter, which I think is where a lot of salon owners go wrong, is that the business has to make money. Nobody's arguing against that. But you're never going to find an amazing stylist who lives to work. It's always this balance of, am I feeling fulfilled? Am I able to spend the time in my personal life the way that I want to? If I don't have that, I've decided I don't have freedom. And that seems to be where we end up.
Yeah.
Okay, take me back. Remind me what year you shifted from booth rental to hybrid?
We expanded at the very end of 2022, and I made the model shift then Q1 of 2023. So it was like we had an employee, but again, she was my assistant. So we had me, 2 renters, and an assistant, 4 people in this 3,000 square foot salon space. And then we shifted to, like, I made a hire in March, I made a hire in April, and kind of grew and, did this maneuver from there.
So as you started hiring from the expansion forward, everybody coming on as a stylist was an employee?
Yes, but they were promised a path to rental. And so when we switched to full commission, we only had 2 renters, but I had this whole team of people who were promised that path.
Put us in that room. How did that go?
Yeah, that was, there was 4 months of me being in my own room being like, no, yes, no, yes, no. And ultimately what it came down to was I was starting to build resentment for myself, resentment for my renters. And again, what it comes down to is me. I wasn't communicating like I should have been, and they didn't know my true feelings. But when I look back on it, I couldn't meet my staff, my commission stylist or hourly based stylist in the middle in that gray area and helping them through that gray area to where they want to go, but then not have that same set of standards for people who could kind of choose everything. And it felt like when I was walking into my salon space, I had a division. They culturally, or like in terms of being friends with each other, they still love each other. Like they were always good friends, but there was I'm being required to do this, but why isn't so and so? And that's my fault, I wasn't setting major standards. I wasn't being true to me, and it showed on both sides of that salon.
Was there any part of you that was like, you know what, I just need a firmer grip on the renters? That's what they need. They need more guidelines. I need to dial it in with them.
Yes. I felt the divide. So then I thought that the way to bring it together was control.
And how did that go?
It led to more confusion because, and then I got into, one time I am getting into my head is, but I can't do that. I can't control that. I can't control this. Legally, that's not my realm. It's not my game. Like, I can't do that, but I want to. Like, I want to require these things and I want to do that. But then all these people don't want that same level. They want the freedom and they want the flexibility and they want all those lovely, the fairness, all the lovely F words that I now hate. And I could feel it literally like unraveling at the seams, and I had to be, and I'm sure there are great, and I'm not even sure, I'm certain that there are amazing and successful hybrid salons out there. It wasn't going to be mine.
So April of 2025 is when you decided to go fully employee based. So we're like 1 year out.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. How did that go? How many renters made the shift? Like, what did that full transition look like?
So I think that the decision actually began in like Q3 of 2024 when the seams were unraveling and it felt like everything was going to fall apart and it was either like sink or swim. But I was terrified to change, like terrified. And we had our team retreat in October of 2024 and my renters asked, like, is that something that you're doing? And like, it wasn't the time to discuss it, even though I felt extremely pulled. I hadn't made a decision, so it wasn't like lying by saying no, but I definitely felt a pull. And they were so upset even talking about it that I was like, no, I'm never doing that. And then that was, 3 months before I had decided to make the change. And then January, New Year, new me. I was like, this is who I'm going to be this year. And I think in order to get to where I need to go, I had a lot of support in that decision, talking to other fellow salon owners and rental stylists even. And I made the decision in January. I had the conversation with them in January and I gave them a 90-day sort of like, we're not renewing your contract. So
when you were thinking about those two renters and how they were in some ways controlling the direction of your business, what were you afraid of? Like, are those people that you care about in a personal way? And so you're afraid of losing the relationship? Was it more internal and you're like, I promised these people something and now I'm changing the terms? Like, what were you struggling with the most?
It's a little multi-layered because I do think that there's a strong relationship there. I'm lucky to have that, but also it causes a lot of internal conflict when I need to make decisions. We have a good relationship, which I love. That's ultimately the most important thing to me. But I've just had to get comfortable with that internal conflict that I have with myself. But I felt like a failure. And I felt like, as somebody who promoted this hybrid model and talked about how great it was and the path to independence, that I was kind of circling back on everything that I said. And there was, of course, a little bit of fear that I was going to end up in the same like commission trauma headspace that I was in when I left my job, and that I was afraid that I was going to become that owner. And I'm going to say owner because I've learned so much about the difference between ownership and leadership that I was thinking about owners back then. I don't think I ever had a leader.
And I don't think you could ever be anything but a leader. But I understand that fear of, I don't want to be the person who hurt me.
Yeah.
It's so real. So those two stylists, did they stay or did they go?
They stayed.
Wow.
They made the decision to stay when we had the conversation in January. So then in April, when everything transitioned, I thought that it was solid. 90 days after that, one decided to go, and that is okay. So, but I can say that when we switched, everybody stayed.
Wow. How did you fight that narrative? Like, I'm aware of the narrative too of everybody wants to graduate to booth rental.
Yeah.
Commission is a stepping stone. You don't stay an employee for long, just as long as you have to get by. And then it's time to make the leap.
Yep.
Do you believe that is the truth at your salon now?
Not at all. But it was definitely my mindset then. When I opened as a rental salon, when I brought on an employee, when I developed, that was the mindset. Learning the difference between ownership and leadership is why we are where we are today. And I believe that we are changing the tone of that perspective.
When you When you left the commission salon that you left, and when you think about why people leave commission salons, what do you think they're running from?
I ran from a lack of a growth plan, like 100%. It was like I knew what I was built for, and I knew I wasn't going to get it there because it was very much like a seniority-based growth plan and not necessarily a performance-based growth plan. And I believe that what people run from now is lack of execution, is what I see when I'm interviewing people more than anything, is promises that are not kept, lack of clear communication, and just no follow through on helping people get to their next level. A lot of like, okay, you're giving me this number, but not giving me the why. And you're not even giving me like even close to the how. Like I believe in a one-to-one like strategy. I'm going to bring something to the table. You bring something to the table, but it is my responsibility to know whether what you're bringing to the table is actually going to work for you or not. And I think that's what a lot of stylists were lacking that worked for me, that were lacking in previous employment.
When you made this shift to employee-based, it feels like it was do or die. Like, we don't have a choice. This is the direction that we're going. When I talk to a lot of owners, they're interested in having an employee-based team, but are terrified that they cannot afford it. Did that run through your mind, and how did you overcome that?
That is not a fear that came up, if I'm being completely honest. I made sure that in opening the 3-chair space and expanding into the 8-chair space, that it was something that I could handle on my own. I might have to be behind the chair, not even really 6 days a week. I might have to be behind the chair 100% of my working hours, but if everyone left, I would be fine. And it was the losing the relationship thing that was actually harder for me than the financial thing. For someone that is financially insecure about the decision, I would say you have to solidify your position there financially, because you don't know like what these stylists are hearing on the out and how they talk to each other and communicate with each other, and what decisions they're going to make either individually or as a group tomorrow. And you need to be able to handle it if it does all crumble down, which it has not.
A lot of salon owners I talk to say, all I'm trying to do is make sure money's coming in, bills are paid, and my family's fed. And there's not a lot of other financial awareness beyond that. When you say, I wasn't scared because I ran the numbers and I knew I had it, what does that look like for you? Like, how do you have that financial confidence that you have?
I did not grow up with financial security. And it was one thing that when I became an adult, I needed to at least have awareness. I definitely think I'm not perfect, and I have more to learn every day about being financially secure and financially confident. But having that scarcity mindset through your whole childhood, and honestly, it's like on a little bit of a trauma response now to look at bank accounts every Monday, but it's a part of my routine to make sure I know what came in and what went out. At the very minimum, twice a month, I will look at everything. And being aware, there's some people that pass it off and delegate that. And I definitely delegate the things that I have no business managing as a hairstylist. But the things that I can learn about, I can learn about bookkeeping. I can learn about profit and loss. I can learn about balance sheets. I can learn about having all these different bank accounts that help me get to my next level. And I think avoidance is the reason a lot of people don't, and because it's hard and scary, and I avoid things that are hard and scary all the time, but nothing was going to be harder or scarier than how I grew up. So I was not ever getting to that place.
Do you work with a bookkeeper?
I do.
Do you work with the CPA?
I do.
When did you bring both of those key pieces onto your business? Do you
From
remember?
day one. And so maybe that's another reason that I never felt insecure about making the decisions. Like when I opened my suite, I had that relationship. So I decided.
Even as an independent?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I knew nothing about any of that when I started. Nothing. And I wanted to learn, but I knew absolutely nothing. So again, no business in trying to manage that myself.
Can we go back and talk about how you ended up closed on Saturdays? What happened?
So there was a salon in my area who I admire her as a businesswoman, so I pay attention to a lot of the things she does. And they announced their new operating hours of Tuesday through Friday, which that leaves them closed Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They are completely extension specialized, so they pretty much do only extensions with some color. We were not there. So why did I think that we were there? And I don't even know if it's working for them because I never asked. I just kind of was like, that's what the community's doing. So that's what I have to do too. And without any guidance in that decision whatsoever, I thought, and this was honestly a move to try and like retain team members that I was nervous were looking elsewhere. And I just was like, well, then we'll be closed Saturdays. Like, what do we need to be open on Saturdays for? I totally believe in work-life balance and all of that. So let's just close. That could not have been a worse decision for my business. Like, and not in like, if you have a revenue goal to meet and you really constrict the days that you have to meet that revenue, you have to work 10 times harder on those open days than by just spreading it out a little bit and like basically poking, you got this balloon that's filling up with water and you poke holes in the balloon to get it to deflate a little bit. And my balloon was kind of about to burst. Mm-hmm. So I was like, we have to go back, you know, which is hard to say.
That's what I was going to say is like, how has it been going back? Like, did you go to your team and say, I think this closing Saturdays was a mistake? Like, What did that look like?
I'm transparent about that, but I'm also not going to force people into something that they didn't ever sign up for. So I have some that were working every other Saturday that are still working every other Saturday. Some that I actually have lost people because they want to work Saturdays.
Interesting.
And I didn't know it until they were leaving. Does that make sense? So they came into our salon thinking like, oh, it'd be super cool to have 2 Saturdays off a month. But then they're like, wait, but I want to be home for my kids on weekdays and not work 2 evenings and all of that. And so it's happened twice where stylists have left because we're not open every Saturday. So I'm like, okay, first of all, you can't make everybody happy. And that's such a hard thing to really, 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 truly realize. But I grandfathered the people into their schedule, and then I'm just kind of going from there. That's why it's been a kind of slow, only in the middle of the summer will we be able to be open every Saturday again after almost 3 years of like either being closed or open every other. I think we're a year totally closed and then a year every other. And now we're kind of inching back.
So one of the things I admire about you is you're never afraid to make a leap of faith.
Nope.
But you're also not afraid to own it when it wasn't the right decision.
Yeah.
And to figure out a way to work it back. Mm-hmm. I think it's really interesting that you saw this salon that arguably is super successful. I don't even know who you're talking about, but you look up to them.
Yes.
So you thought, amazing, they're going to be open 4 days a week. Saturdays are out. This must be what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think myself included, so many of us, when we own a business, we look up to people that we have decided are successful based on who knows what criteria. We don't even know.
Right.
But we've decided they must know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And we'll follow their moves, hoping to get their results. Meanwhile, we don't even know what their results are.
Exactly. So that's what I fall back on a lot. Like, what was I thinking in that moment? Mm-hmm. Like, I think they're successful because I'm looking at them from one lens and I have no idea what's going on inside those walls.
Right. Meanwhile, I asked you not so long ago, are you successful? And you're like, well, not yet. But I'm certain that people will look at your business after this and be like, I want everything she has. What she's built is amazing. And it's a very interesting perspective and lens. Tell me what your team looks like today.
We have a solid employee-based salon. We have no dreams of going back to where we were. And I always said, if it's not working, we can always go back. That was kind of what I brought up. But I also said that in the like, I know this is going to work, but it's an employee-based salon. We have a growth plan for all stylists on our team. I'm developing a growth plan for operations, but it's not like solidified yet because that's the next step, right? I wanted to hire a manager, kind of forget, like even if you're like, I want to hire a manager, but I can't afford it. Well, you might not be able to hire a manager, but you can hire someone at a lower level of experience and help them kind of learn along the way and help them in that way grow. But I have to have a plan for that. And right now I'm working on that plan. But we have a growth plan for stylists. You can be brought in at the associate level or the stylist level, and then they move on to signature stylist. And signature stylists decide, they don't have to, you can be a stylist forever, I don't care. Signature stylists decide to use our methodology, mentor in our way, and just keep a way more consistent experience and therefore are more trusted. So my whole team wants to become a signature stylist because they know that that means that they're trusted. And then from there, they can become a visionary stylist, so one that mentors others. And then I currently hold executive stylist, but I don't want to do that forever. So I would hope that one of my stylists grows into that role where they're leading the rest of the team.
Beautiful. Let's say a new grad joins the team tomorrow. How long are they an associate for? What does their training look like? Who's doing the training?
9 months right now. We're trying to shorten that because that feels too long. I can tell they're starting to get burnt out about month 6, but we're trying to find the area of like technical skill and professional development in that sweet spot while also working on a day-to-day basis with mentors. They work with one of 3 mentors on any given day. We rotate. We like to have 3 associates at a time. Right now we have 2, so it just kind of depends. And then we have someone in the first phase, someone in the second phase, and someone in the third phase at all times. And same with our mentors. We have a mentor who's better with phase 1, a mentor who's better with phase 2, and a mentor who's better with phase 3. And they rotate between the mentors, but they have like every mentor has an understanding of where each individual person is. So in about 9 months, they will graduate from the program and be taking clients the whole time, but they start taking clients between months 3 and 6, depending on how things are going.
When did you join the industry?
2012.
Okay, so you and I are from a very similar generation where if an assistant program was less than 18 months, it was incredibly risky.
Yes.
It was like you're in it for the long haul. 2 years, I knew plenty of friends who were in it for 2 years. You said that they're feeling itchy around 9 months.
If itchy, and
6
I'm itchy.
months.
Like it's
Yeah.
not just them. I'm like, I'm ready for you to not, it's monotonous almost when they get to month 9 and like they know what it takes and they've passed all that like super foundational learning, and now it does feel like we're just kind of practicing every day, and I'd rather them practice while taking clients.
So I'm so on board with your timeline. The argument that comes my way is they're not ready though. They're not perfect. What if they make a mistake?
So they are afraid of that too. And if both parties on the ends of the table, leader and stylist, associate stylist or junior stylist or whatever, are both afraid of the same thing, how are you ever going to get to the next place? And so someone has to sit at that table and be like, I believe in you. And that person is me. And I say, you're going to mess up. You will. Everybody does. And guess who they call? Me. And I will have a conversation with the person and make things right. As long as you are a good human providing good service, it will be okay. The technical skill comes with everything else. And because this is for stylists that are listening to this, they're booking appointments with people at like they have to know where they're at. I definitely differentiate between associate and stylist, but I don't say like this person is taking clients as of today. My associate who's in phase 3 did her first like seamless highlight last week, and never did the guest know. Not once did she know that it was her first experience with that, because we made sure leading up to taking that service that she had the skills to deliver an excellent experience, even if it wasn't perfection in technical skill. And because it was a good experience, this customer who doesn't see the flaws that we see was over the moon excited and rebooked and purchased product and everything because of that experience, not because of the technical skill. So I'm like, let's teach the experience first. And then of course, technical skill is important, but you pick that up along the way. That's how I see it.
I feel like you prioritize confidence. And it's like if the confidence is there and the support is there and the stylist knows you have their back,
yeah,
how bad can it really be?
Right. And we do in our like train the trainer program. So our mentors learn how to teach skill, confidence, and professionalism gaps. As long as they're on pace, they're almost never experiencing skill gaps. They're experiencing confidence is the main one. And then we don't really hire people who are going to have major professionalism issues. So that one, definitely issues come up, but they're never huge and never take more than a debrief to kind of like work out. But confidence is like the big one. And I feel like ever since we developed that SCP gap analysis, that everybody sees that that's the biggest struggle for not just our associate stylists, honestly, our whole team.
You mentioned that like ideally you have 3 stylists in training at all times at different phases of their training. I'm obsessed. A lot of leaders say, I can't even find one good person.
Yeah.
How are you getting applicants? Are you running ads to fill those opportunities? Are you accepting resumes all the time? How are you filling those positions?
We accept resumes 100% of the time. You can apply at any time. If we're not currently accepting you, you'll get an email that says, we want to keep this on file and maintain this relationship, like come in for a shadow day or something. But we're accepting applications at all times. I have a really strong relationship with cosmetology schools, and I show up to the schools and I don't just complain about what they're not doing. I talk to them about what we are expecting. I actually want to start kind of a series around that on my social media of like what I would love to see coming in, because that's another like weakness that I had in 2020 that I now feel like is an area of work for sure still, but I feel so much more confident in interviewing and hiring. And I believe the reason that we get so many applicants and the reason I can be more discerning in who I bring on is because we show who we are and what we do. I hardly ever say we are hiring, ever, because you just kind of figure it out by.
If you had to take a guess, a stab in the dark at how many applicants you get in a year, how many would you say?
For our associate program for the year, I think we saw 375 applications for our associate program. I would say for stylists, we're seeing like 5 applicants a month. So
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. The associate program is really, it's honestly like I feel horrible having, because we take on 3 a year. You know what I mean?
You would take them all if you could.
Yes.
And you're taking 1%.
And I want to really bad, but I also am trying to believe in the quality over quantity. And even when people ask about expansion again or like second location or all of that, I'm like, I feel really strong about this space. And so that requires discernment. Like it's not an option.
Can you tell me more about your in-house training, your Train the Trainer program, what it looks like to earn one of those positions, and what kind of education you are providing to those roles?
So one of the biggest things I hear from associates who either come to us from other associate programs or are starting out with us really value one-on-one mentorship.
Yes.
Versus just being a salon assistant. Mm-hmm. I've never referred to them as assistants. They're always associate stylists because I believe that's the position that they are in. We don't hire assistants. We're hiring associates. And something else that I know is if you put somebody one-on-one with someone who is not right, in 9 months, I have 2 stylists that are not right. And one might have habits, but what I'm trying to say is if you have the blind leading the blind, mm-hmm. it doesn't make anything good. So something that my mentors requested, because I just kind of like was bringing people into mentorship, like, oh, if you want to have an assistant, be a mentor. You'll be working one-on-one. You also don't just have an assistant. You have somebody that you're leading and teaching. Let's do it. And then at the team retreat last year, it was the number one requested thing from my mentors. They were like, I don't even know how to train. Mm-hmm. So I got into my cave and developed Train the Trainer program, which we have Setting the Tone. That's like our training program title for any track, but it's like Setting the Tone associate track, Setting the Tone stylist track. So we have Setting the Tone trainer track. And that has 4 levels to it, and it takes 4 months to complete. So it's not a super long thing. And honestly, they could complete it sooner if they're like, I'm really desperate to get this done. But we meet once a month. Mm-hmm. So it happens at those meetings. And we work through modules that show mentees that we are focused on their growth, not just our own, and helps my mentor see that it's not just about telling. It's mm-hmm. about teaching, and not just about showing, but about actually like being in it with them. Just like I'm in the salon every day with my team, I can't expect them to get their next level if I'm not in it with them. So we don't really have, I for a while had a 4 hands sort of like experience where my associate stylist was foiling at the same time as me. That's not really happening anymore. So my mentors learned to lead observation shifts and solo shifts. So on observation shifts, the associate is one-on-one with a mentor, passing foil, they're learning something. They have to get to the end of the day and be able to say something that they learned. On solo shifts, no associate is allowed to have a solo shift where a mentor is not present. And we communicate on all of their progress. So even if it's not their person that they're with on any given day, somebody's available. And we have the same sort of like teach versus tell through a solo shift too. When our associate comes to us and has their base retouch and they're like, what should I formulate with? Mm-hmm. What should you formulate with? So kind of asking the same questions back to them and really helping them find the answer versus giving them the answer. And then I realized in trying to do that for associates that I needed to do that for trainers too, because it felt like it was bottlenecking for a while. Like I had mentors, but it was still all falling on me. And so that doesn't grow anybody either. And as I try to step away, I'm not going to be able to be one-on-one with associates anymore. So I really need to know that these mentors are giving the same exact experience as when someone was one-on-one with me.
How do you decide when somebody's ready to, quote unquote, graduate from the program?
In the associate realm or?
Yes.
Okay. So in the associate realm, it's very data-based. Like they have to be hitting, and they're not as obviously expansive of goals as my stylists are, but we definitely passed through a lot in the beginning. And we're just kind of like, time has happened. So I guess you must go through because the certain amount of months has passed. And now it definitely looks like in the area of skills, professionalism, and confidence, that they are a 10 out of 10 for where they are at. Not perfection, but a 10 out of 10 based on how we grade.
Who is making that determination? The reason I'm wondering is because now you have these trainers who are going through this train the trainer program. Yep. Essentially, they are replacing you in that role, which is such a beautiful thing. Who is making that final decision of so-and-so is going to make it here or so-and-so probably should find another salon home?
So it's a collaborative decision on how people move through. We, the trainers, mentors, meet once a month. And the first 20 minutes of that meeting is all dedicated collaborative associate progress. We have a Slack channel strictly for mentorship. So if one's having a certain hiccup moment or something, like we just communicate all the time. But I am the CTO, Chief Training Officer. So all of those like final decisions still land on me, but I don't want to be there forever. So I'm trying to help them see what I see. And then I'm hoping that we get to somebody else making those final decisions. But I believe a lot of decisions I make are collaborative.
Do your trainers get any kind of boost in pay?
So when they're in Train the Trainer, no. But once they graduate from Train the Trainer, they do earn a commission bonus on top of I used to base it on the associate sales through their solo shifts, but that was not really lucrative. So I just give them a commission boost in their own sales. Assuming they have an associate with them, they're making more money. So it's with that mentality.
Can we talk about retail?
Yes.
I know that you work with a brand you are passionate about. What does retail look like in your business?
We currently carry like 22% of our total sales being retail. So as I hear that it's dying, I hear it. I'm not seeing it. I have certain stylists that are stronger than others. Some carry a lot of that 22%. But I think that having it available and storytelling, I work with Davines they have a storyteller on staff for their brand. And so when you align that way with a brand, it's hard not to believe in it, but it's hard not to just like give it away. Like I'm constantly like, you need this in your life. And we have plenty of guests who are also brand believers now because of the work that my stylists do. We also have a signature methodology in recommendations. If I have a stylist underperforming, it's usually because they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in that brand, or they don't believe in both. Is it a requirement to believe in the brand in order to work at Tone Salon? No, you have to believe in yourself. But you have to show me effort, that you're like at least not giving up on just because all of those outside factors, like the industry is not happening to you, sort of thing. So I see it dying because I see people's belief in how it works dying on my end.
Do you feel like Davines supports you and Tone Salon? Like, how do they show up and support your business?
And that is the key factor. And the key question right there is, although Davines is sold elsewhere, they make it so transparent. And I don't want this to be like a commercial for Davines, but I really, truly value them. But they make it so transparent that they're putting the stylist first. Their Amazon profits, their direct website profits, and messaging. Like if you order from Davines.com as a consumer, you're getting something that gives a salon locator in your area. So I really do feel like they do their best while also understanding it's 2026 of trying to funnel that traffic into salons.
I want to level set for a minute. What city and state are you coming out of?
Fortville, Indiana, which is like 30 minutes outside of Indianapolis. It's like the first rural area outside of Indianapolis.
Do you have a sense of what your population is?
In Fortville, Indiana, 4,500. In Fishers, which is kind of where we share a wall, I don't know what their population is, but it's a strong suburb. So it's a lot more. But we're in a small town. Like, we're in a small community, and I love that. Like, I love being in the community that we are in. We serve beyond that 4,500, but I don't try to reach Indianapolis. I don't try to reach Carmel, which is like another amazing suburb. Those people come to us naturally. I want to talk to our clients who have farms 25 minutes away from the salon, who have to go in 90 minutes to a hair appointment in Indianapolis. And I want them to come to us. And same with our stylists. We have stylists drive up to an hour to work with us 5 days a week, and that's one way. So I love being where we are. I feel like we don't need to reach out further than where we're at.
Tone is a destination.
We're setting the tone.
You are setting the tone here at Tone. Tell me about your compensation plan.
We follow performance impact compensation to a T. That's an area where, like, I did not, in bringing on employees, I needed to lead with data and not feeling, because I'm very big in that time when everything started. I was a people pleaser. So if someone came in and asked for a 5% commission increase and I felt like it would keep them, I would give them that increase just because of that reason alone. And performance impact helped me be able to see, like, oh, it actually does help them to have growth. It helps them to see the tiered, the columns of, like, here's where you are, $1,500 a month, and you'll get to the next level. Beyond that, another $1,500 or whatever it is. They see it now, where before they couldn't see it, so they just asked. And there's nothing wrong with asking. I think I have such an issue with asking that when people ask me things, I'm like, wow, you just had, like, the audacity, and I want to give it to you strictly for that. But a lot of people just don't have a problem asking for things because they have no issue with hearing no. And so I would say yes, because I have such an issue with hearing no. And that affected pay for a while. And now it does not. It's literally based on the table.
And money makes things weird for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting enough? Am I getting cheated? Can I ask for more? Can I afford this?
Yeah.
All of these questions come up, and it is what tarnishes a lot of relationships. Do you have a sense of what the commission range is for your team as it stands today?
We don't go below 40%. It'll be hourly until 40%, because I have found in an area where rental is completely dominant, and we're the only commission salon for miles. And cities, towns at least, definitely probably cities. Like, it is not popular to be a commission salon unless you are a salon that's been doing it for 30 years and have a humongous reputation. Anyway, I don't want to pay below 40% because I know that's not going to attract people in my area. So we display it as hourly. And even as people grow, I'm like, do you want to be hourly or do you want to be commission? Because they get to see that skill too, thanks to how the table works. And 40% seems to be the sweet spot. But I have stylists at 40%. I have stylists who are hourly, and I have a stylist who's currently earning 60%. And she can earn more. Like, there's plenty of room for that. She's decided to kind of prioritize time in this year, and I'm like, that's totally, I think she has an issue with it more than me. And she's like, oh, I feel like my numbers are starting to pull back. I'm like, that's okay, like, that's totally fine. So right now we are up to 60, but it could go further than that.
Beautiful. I want to go back to performance impact for a second. You reminded me, you said something about how as your team grows, there's actually more potential for higher commissions overall for the team. Like, it benefits the team for the team to grow, which is completely accurate.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed that you put two and two together on that. Can you explain that in your own words, how that would work?
I think that you are such a brilliant mind to put this together. And I have done it from the first day of signing up for Thriving Leadership, or at least started to kind of implement it in the team. In my own words, someone who is a high performer, like I was a high performer in my commission salon. Yep. I didn't even ask, though, for a commission increase. But the point is, you have these people that are working so hard, and they're being put in the same group as people who, it's basically like, no matter the level of work that I do, I'm going to be making the same. So why would I continue to put in that effort? Mm-hmm. The more that you reward effort, the more everyone grows. And then you bring in, so as they grow financially, usually their goal is to reduce time behind the chair. And then I have more people come in and the numbers grow. A higher ticket, like they're reducing time, so they're raising prices. It just is like a symbiotic kind of circle of success.
It's an ecosystem.
Yes.
Do you feel like at this point, if somebody were to leave you, a high performer were to leave you, why do you think they'd be choosing to leave?
This is one I have to think about for just a second. If they choose to leave, they need a little more space than what I offer, because I do have high expectations. And if they, usually somebody who's leaving, even if they are a high performer, is not open with me about what their goals are. We might have even sat down in a meeting where they tell me what they think I want to hear, but then they don't actually mean what they're saying. I think that they need space, and honestly, in order to just experiment with like what they think success looks like for them. I've had people leave and come back. I've had people leave and be okay with not having the accountability. Like, they don't want accountability anymore, is what it kind of boils down to. They want space from the accountability.
It's interesting. Usually salon owners, their biggest fear is losing a high performer. And I asked you that question, and it was if it had never even crossed your mind.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think because I have built high performers and I know I can do it again. Like, it takes time and it takes energy, and it's not like easy or simple work, but anybody can get there. It's just who's getting you to that place.
What are the Tone core values?
Do your best, serve others, and be extra.
Tell me about Be Extra.
Be Extra used to be guacamole. So when we first established our core values, we had 5, and whenever you go somewhere and you're like, I'll have a side of guacamole, they're like, that's $1.25 extra. And then you're like, okay, I still want guacamole. And it boils down to like people, not that the extra always becomes basic. So do the extra before it becomes basic. Like chips and salsa, I know that you talk about a lot. And it will become basic. So get ahead of basic. And it's sparkle. I think Be Extra kind of even melts into the other 2 core values, but I should look at you and see a sparkle emoji at all times.
Do you feel like being in a more rural community in Indiana, there's any part of you that thought we kind of have to play a little smaller?
I think I wanted to stand out. I was the second salon on Main Street. We now have on Main Street, we have 3 salons, and then still in town, but outside of Main Street, there's 2 more. And I have to stand out. And I think that the way that we do that is by showing up professionally. And I think that's what for us, being extra in our area is literally just being professional, because that's lacking. But and I've never been this way. Even when I was a commission stylist, people were like, oh, if we wanted to scroll back to Kimber Ulyss's social media from 2012, 2013, when I first started, when Instagram was not really doing anything for stylists, I was still all up on Instagram. I was constantly networking, passing out business cards, going to the mall. I was sweeping, working 14-hour days. And I'm not saying anybody has to do all of that today, but back then people were like, that's so fancy. Like when I joined Forever Study in 2018, I saw you on a Facebook ad, when I went into my own suite, 2 weeks after I opened up my suite, and I was like, I have nothing to lose. And when I would tell people what I was working on in my salon lofts building through that year, they're like, that's just so fancy. And fancy is a word, and I'm like, stop saying that, because you mean it in a demeaning way. And I think that's just been my personality forever, is I'm always doing at least one more thing than the majority of people around me, because if I am just doing what the majority of people are doing, I'm never going to get where I want to go.
I love that outlook. I'm just going to do one more thing. If I can do one more thing different than my competition, maybe not even better, but different. I'm going to do one thing different. I'll be out ahead of the rest.
Yes.
Tell me more about how you're marketing in Facebook.
So Facebook is not something that we pay for currently. I have no paid ads on Facebook. It's just getting in those groups and in a sea of 25 comments, being the one that actually connects with people. I honestly could do a better job of like our salon page and like kind of the focus what we are posting there. But I feel like I drive so many people to the website from Facebook that they almost never go to. Anyway,
So your game is being in the communities. It's not
yes.
building up your Facebook page.
And that is one of my things. And I've always been that way. It's why, I mean, I grew up downtown Indy, but I've worked and lived in my community for so long now that I can't go to a soccer game without running into a client. I can't go to the gym without running into a client, whether it's mine or the salons. And I'm talking to them all the time. Like, I am just like, how are you doing? And not in a weird way that it blends personal and business. Like, I still am very much able to be one or the other, but I feel like connection is everything there. That's what Facebook's for, I think, other than the weird arguments and everything that happens.
Of course, there's that too, of course. Is there any advice you have for a fellow, more small town salon owner that might inspire them to think bigger?
Do one thing differently. You said it. I think that there's this also mindset that like, well, I can't do that because my clients that just would not work. My clients would not go for that. Kind of like owners get into like, my stylist would not go for that. Stylists will say, well, my clients wouldn't go for that. My clients are never going to do that. But we've done so many things that small town salons, definitely in our area, do not do, that I can't imagine making a decision based on like, we're not trying to, your clients connect with you. They know that they should know that every decision you make is for them, whether it feels uncomfortable or not at first. Thank you cards. That's a big one that like, my stylists were like, will people even care? And I was like, doesn't really matter if they care, because eventually someone will. And they get to say, I went to the salon that sent this thank you card, and like, it was super sweet. It takes us 30 seconds to do, but leaves such an impression on them.
You scared everybody when you said that one of your employees makes 60% commission. In my mind, I'm like, Kimber's killing it. You get it. You understand it. This is how you're going to scale. I asked you about your finances. Payroll is at 46%, super healthy. We're very happy that it's there. And you also give back a ton to your team. You find the opportunity to give in ways way beyond the paycheck. I want to start with the annual Tone trip. You talked about it earlier in our conversation. Tell us more what that looks like.
So honestly, I saw somebody else do it a few years ago, and this was before I even had the team like it is today. I had, the hybrid environment and all of that, but I didn't have the team that we have today. And I saw them take a local like retreat style trip where they did like a spa day, and I was like, we have to do that. Like I'm like, that is a must. We must. And I didn't really even develop a why at that point, but I just knew I wanted to do it. So it was one of those things where if I didn't get it on the calendar, it was never going to happen because I couldn't figure out why we were doing it. I just knew I wanted to. So in April of 2024, I just said, hey, October, I forget the exact dates, but October this weekend is our first team retreat. And that team retreat became the Tone trip, because what we thought was going to be a weekend of like relaxation and decompressing and, just being away from the salon, but with each other, became like explosive inner growth that I was not expecting at all, that I was happy to facilitate, but it went way out of my itinerary that I had originally planned. And so that was our first one in 2024. We took our second in 2025, kind of knowing that was the why now. The why was like helping them figure out why they are here, why they didn't decide to go out on their own, why they didn't choose to grow in a different way, why they're growing here. Because I do have a gift for helping people see what's inside beyond the numbers, as much as I love the numbers. And I tell them, I'm like, the numbers pay for the Tone trip, so we need the numbers. But I feel like the Tone trip is a non-negotiable at this point every year. It's just built into our budget. It was not built into the budget in 2024. It was like, schedule it, figure it out. And it was built into the budget in 2025. And I do want to take it like abroad.
Wow.
Soon. Yeah.
Wow.
And we've stayed pretty local to the Midwest. And again, it has been very like me planning, me facilitating, me. And as we grow, I'm realizing how much more is about us. And I kind of want them to be a part of how it goes that whole weekend versus me kind of like running ragged. Happy. I love doing it, but it's definitely a lot.
Okay, I want to go back to 2024 for a minute. You basically thought it was a girls' trip.
I thought it was a girls' trip.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
How did it morph into what it actually was?
I think that I got about 60 days beforehand, I got a little like, oh no, this is going to be just a girls' trip if we don't do something. So I put together a few workshops that we didn't have time for in like team meetings and stuff like that. And one of them was inspired by a book by Val Reese called Chief Inspiration Officer. And in that book, she discusses the cave that you put yourself in from criticisms, assumptions, victim mindset, and enclosed patterns. That was the workshop that at that first retreat, I didn't even do 2 of the workshops I planned because we spent so much time there. And now that is like, we did it again in 2025. I think we'll take a break for 2026, but that framework built a lot of things beyond the Tone trip and helped people see exactly why they were struggling where they were at, whether personally or professionally. Again, I'm like trying to just help these girls have professional development strategy over a 3-day period where we don't where we get to sleep and have cocktails and be in a hot tub. It became like one girl left breaking up with her boyfriend. Many people cried. Many people cried. There was the first transitional conversation of going into a commission environment. Like a lot was transformative in that first weekend. And then in 2025, it was even more like explosive in terms of inner growth. But I do kind of want to experiment with like technical skill because it's never been about technical skill. But then I'm like, then that takes away from that growth. So I don't know.
You created a space for people to be vulnerable, which I think is very inspiring, sometimes a little bit scary.
Very scary.
One of the things I hear all the time, and I struggle with myself as a business owner, is there's never enough time to have like really human conversations. And I think one of the greatest things we can do as a leader is to see our team as whole humans.
Yes.
And you created capacity for that to be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the timing to be interesting that you created that place and space and then were able to literally shift your entire business in the course of a year and a half.
Yeah, we talk about when we are referring to Tone Salon, the salon floor is a stage. You honestly show up. I show up as a character. I have to show up for someone who's willing to pay upwards of $800 for their 4-hour service. Like I have to show up as that person. I'm not that person all the time. So I teach that to them. When you're showing up for who these people are expecting, and without becoming a different version of yourself, like still remaining authentic, but you're not who you are when you're in the break room or beyond. And I feel like in the Tone trip, I discovered most of the time, because I'm seeing these people on stage most of the time, that when I took them away from that stage, who they actually were. And again, helped develop for me that communication skill that was lacking when I first developed the team. To now. So it's transformative for me too.
Do you remember what I call your team lovingly?
The Tonys.
The Tonys. And why that hasn't caught on, I'm just not sure. But I want to learn more about what it is to be a Tony. Tell us about the 100K Club.
So the 100K Club was finalized in 2025. I think it's something that I only ever had one stylist do it. So I was kind of just celebrating her. And last year we had 3 stylists do it. And I was like, well, I want to celebrate them as a group, and working through thriving leadership and, finding out rewards and celebrations helped a lot. And I was like, they're the 100K Club. Like that's their people who did over 100,000 in service revenue, not including tips, no retail, just service. And I do like to do things big. I'm like, if we're going to celebrate huge. So because it was finalized last year, they both, were celebrated like in the ways that they prefer to be celebrated, but I'm taking them to Spain this year for the Dominus Worldwide Hair Tour. And I think that is a big deal. Like I
Huge
think
deal.
I think there are some leaders out there who would see that expense and keep it for themselves. But to me, their growth is my growth, and I want them to be celebrated. It's not about the money. It's about the impact. Incredible. And I know that Spain is going to be impactful.
Are you going to share that journey on social media?
Yes, of course.
And you say, yes, of course. I talk to a lot of owners and they'll say things like, I actually don't like marketing and social media because it feels so inauthentic. It feels so cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you show up marketing the Tonys is you just share the journey.
Yes. It's storytelling.
Yeah.
I think like if we take marketing out of it, and really what marketing is storytelling. You're getting a message out with a beginning, middle, and end. And I don't look at it as marketing. I've never said we are hiring, for instance. I've never said we're hiring, maybe once. I won't say never. But I don't often post like we are hiring, apply within. This is happening. DM us now, because I feel like that should be a natural reaction to whatever we're talking about. And I just like to tell the story of kind of where we're at. Do I share everything? No, I definitely struggle with vulnerability myself. And so it's interesting to hear like about all this I'm exposing in others, maybe because I have such an issue with doing it myself. But I believe that storytelling it makes social media easy. I've never found it difficult. Now, finding the time to tell the story is a different challenge, but the actual story itself, I don't feel like it's hard if you actually take a step back and kind of analyze what's happening within your space.
I mentioned to you, I said, I'm really impressed with what you do on social media. And you were almost like taken aback when I said that. You said, wow, thanks. Mm-hmm. Because I think for you, it just does feel so organic. Do you enjoy the marketing and the storytelling?
That is definitely my comfort zone, where there are some avenues that I delegate because they're not. But marketing is not an icky term, so I'm going to stop like talking about it like it's an icky term. But when I think about it as marketing, it becomes something I don't enjoy. I enjoy telling the story. I enjoy inviting people in to be a part of the story. And I enjoy social media. Like I enjoy consuming social media. So I don't know. I want to put our stuff out there too. I think that if we spent like even 10% of the time we spend consuming on creating, I bet people would have a different opinion on social media. If I'm getting on Instagram, I'm going to take one thing away that I can like implement for one of my 3 accounts.
You share a lot of video content, which is a lot of people's Achilles heel, cannot do it. What does your setup look like? How do you pull that off?
You know, I to this day have not hired like a social media person. And sometimes I'm like, why? Why have I not done that? And I don't know if it's a control thing. I would like to think it's because I actually do enjoy it, but I don't have the time to curate all of that content. So I believe that the people who run social media for Tone Salon are the Tone team, the Tonys, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do all that. And I do hold standards in our growth plan of like, you don't have to be showing up every single day in every single way on social media. I believe that is my job and gift. But when someone comes to us, what do you want your story to be? You know? And whether somebody is independent or leading a team, that's the question that I have. Like, because there's people who hate it, and stylists come to us that hate it. They're like, I don't love doing social media. I'm like, you don't really have to. But when someone books an appointment at Tone Salon, they see our story, which is one story, and then they see 8 other stories, and which one are they connecting to? That's why it's important. And I tell them it's not about how much, it is about what, I guess, but it's not about how much. It's not like we're not trying to beat the algorithm or anything like that. We are just trying to tell a story and connect in that way. And so I think if we change it from marketing to storytelling, it gets a lot easier.
You just said something very controversial, and I know you don't even know that you said it because you said it so beautifully, and I completely agree with you. You said stylists come and say they don't really want to participate in the social media, and your stance was you really don't have to. We got it. A lot of owners say, I'm irritated, I can't get my team to market themselves.
Yeah.
What do you feel is your responsibility when it comes to creating demand for Tone?
I think it's my job to get eyes to Tone Salon. And I think that there definitely became a pressure. The people-pleasing aspect kicked in when I'm like, I have to do this for them. Like I have to get X amount of clients in here for them. I had to bring X amount of clients to Tone Salon. And I'm doing that. But again, when somebody lands here, they're going to want to book here based on the story that I've told. But who are they going to book with? That's a story you tell. And to me, that's the biggest thing. I think, the more that I position, I definitely struggle with getting my team to post things. And if I hyper fixated on that battle, I would not be where I am today. But accountability is a one-to-one thing. And I think those that are requiring should also deliver on that. And I'm never going to go to my team and be like, why aren't you posting if it's been 2 weeks since I've done anything? You know what I mean? That's not, I hate the F word fair, but it's not balanced. And if I'm going to do it, if they're going to do it, I'm going to do it. And also if I'm doing it while managing all of my other things, why can't you show up? And that's usually the question that I ask. And they might give me an honest answer of like, I am just not, I am like frozen there. And then you dive into like the human aspect of it. But to say like, I can't get my team to market themselves, well, duh, they're not marketers, they're hairstylists. And so if you position it as marketing, they're never going to want to do it.
Have you taught your team how to show up on social?
Yes, it is part of our like both training things, whether it's a stylist 90-day training track or an associate's 9-month training track, they are getting specific education too. That's another thing that I hear a lot is like, well, I can't get them to do it. It's like, well, do they know how? Like have in the way that you want them to as well. And that's, I think our biggest struggle is like they go through that and then they're still posting like backs of heads. And I'm like, that's like, we can go back to a standard here. But if you don't have standards for them to go back to, people like to be led. People love to be led. And if you're asking for something, please show them the way. Please show them the way.
And that's one of the things I admire most about you is you say, I'm going to master it, and then I'm going to mentor it. I'm going to delegate it. I'm going to teach it, but I'm going to show you. It's not do as I say, it's do as I do. And I'm a flawed human too, and I'm learning in the process, but we can do it together.
Yeah, and I think that switching from like a luxury mindset, which like I don't know how to be luxury. I'm from Nowheresville, Indiana. I know nothing about being luxury, but I am authentic and that leads to signature. So we talk about like signature a lot. We don't provide a luxury experience. It's a signature experience. We have a signature way of curating content. We have a signature way of doing a blowout. We have a signature way of our partial foil. Everything comes down to that signature experience, not luxury.
Now, we could keep talking about the benefits of working at Tone because they're numerous. We could talk supper club. We could talk about all of the additional resources that you have. But I want to talk about traditional benefits for a moment. Do you offer health insurance? Do you offer 401k? What does that look like?
I do not. And I wanted to. And I still kind of want to. And it's not due to a scarcity mindset or financial or anything. I finally got to a place where it's like, we can do this. Like, I want to offer these things. We sit down for our annual meeting and I'm like, I want to do health insurance. I want to do all 401k matching. I want to do all that. And out of 10 stylists at that time, 2 were like, cool. And the other were like, I'm still with my parents. Like, I don't need that right now. And it is the conversation that you should have when you're planning out I think benefits should be planned with the team. And that's something that I learned because if I gave them everything that I thought they wanted, I wouldn't be retaining team members. I have to really think about what they actually want. And one of the things that has never came up and has been voted on is like traditional benefits. Maybe when my team are all in their 30s and kind of actually thinking about that time, that's what they'll vote on instead of some of the other things that we do. But right now it's not team-based.
I love that you give Tone the place and space and opportunity to evolve into what she needs to be in the future. Tone saw a total of 2,037 clients in 2025, an average of 60 new guests every single month. What platforms are driving the most traffic for you right now?
Google is number one, 1,000,000% number one. Because I'm more into storytelling than actual like marketing data, I don't deep dive into our insights enough to really know like where everybody's landing when they find us there. But I do know just looking at the general dashboard that is where 90% of traffic is, to be honest, and 85. Then I would say 10% is through Facebook, which you might find surprising because we do show up on Instagram. But because we are a small community, everyone is on Facebook groups of all kinds. We're on Nextdoor, but I think just my area isn't using it enough. We get traffic from it, but it's not a huge source. But Facebook groups and incentivizing Facebook groups versus just because I'm sure you're getting this a lot too, where it used to be like somebody asked about a hairstylist and there'd be 2 or 3 that comment, but now there are so many. Like sometimes they turn comments off because there's so many comments. So I just show up and try to connect with them versus saying like, I'm a hairstylist. I own a salon in Fortville, Indiana on Main Street. Come see us. I will say like, you brought up this concern. This is how I know we can address it. And that I feel like connects with people a lot more. And then Instagram is just the fun window into what it's like to be at Tone.
Have you ever been tempted to go on TikTok?
Yes. And the reason that I have not is because when I am consuming TikTok, that's not what I want to consume. I have personally, I'm now my demographic. 10 years ago, I was not my demographic. I've had the same kind of like general demographic for my whole career, but I've reached my demographic. And in that, I don't consume TikTok for that reason. And I have to think like I'm in the financial demographic, age demographic, all of that. So I have to have somewhat of a similar mindset of other people that we serve. And I go on TikTok to be entertained. I do not go on TikTok to find places to go. If I found the time and wanted to show up and be a little silly on TikTok, maybe, but I don't think we need to.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're successful?
No. Because I always think about the next thing, and it makes what happened yesterday not good enough because I'm focused on where I'm going tomorrow, and I don't present sit a lot. And that is a huge like mindset shift that I have to like, even sitting here right now, like this is a big deal. And it is a big deal to me. Like today, it's a big deal to me. And then tomorrow I'll be like, well, I want to sit there twice. Like the first time didn't matter because I want to sit there again. Or you know what I mean? So it makes it hard to say I'm successful. I also think because of my background and coming up the way that I did, I was successful when I graduated high school. Like I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school. And that is a huge accomplishment. But going back, it's like, well, that wasn't that big of a deal because everybody graduates high school. And then I think I've turned everything into, well, that's not a big deal. I think because I like to put myself in rooms where I'm a smaller fish, it makes it so I'm always striving for the big bait and not being okay with being the little fish.
How will you know when you are successful?
I'm learning that. I think it's hard to answer because a person could say, literally being here right now is like pinnacle, peak. It's not going to get better. And I think this is great. And I'm really proud of where I've come from and where I'm going. I think I'll know that I'm successful when I look back at like legacy stuff. So my kids, how they treat others, their relationships, what they are doing, having a mom who leads others, and are they going to take that anywhere? My daughter's not interested in doing hair or anything like that. She wants to be a nurse, which is great. Maybe she'll do something on her own that way. And I'm not expecting my kids to like own their own business, but I want to make sure that they have the same mindset of like, you are strong, you are powerful, you're important. And I don't know that I'll feel successful until they believe that about themselves.
What advice would you have for a booth rental salon owner who is becoming resentful and is feeling like maybe it's time to just walk away?
Think about your why. So and I feel like everybody says that, so it's a cheap answer. So I'm going to give the rest. When I got resentful, I had to think of why. Why am I resentful? Because I don't feel like I'm impacting. Like my ultimate goal was and purpose was the impact for others. The whole point was to serve my community. Serve others is one of our core values. My whole goal was impact. And I felt at that point I was managing two different sides of a very very close to each other thing. And there was no impact. And that's when I became resentful. So the shorter answer is you have to understand why you're doing it. Because I do think that if it's financial, the money's not going to come just because you want it to. You have to have a reason. And I think that I teach my team that impact is the most important thing on our community and for each other and for themselves. So impact is what I come down to. And if I ever have to make another decision again, it'll be like, does this actually create impact? If it does, cool. If it does not, it doesn't happen.
Kimber, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. I
Thanks
so
for having
appreciate
me.
you. I'm incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what the next chapter of Tone includes.
We will see.